Hey everyone, welcome to 14 Victor Echo, and these have been our struggles.
Seems like we've been promising forever and ever we're going to close up a wing.
We did it!
Look, Mom, no Clecos. Got our, this is what, the left wing, right?
Yeah.
No, it's the right wing.
It's the right wing.
It's one of the wings. It's definitely the correct wing.
Yeah, we put the pieces together.
Which we think is the right wing and not the left wing. I don't know, but it is the right wing. It's the wing without the pitot tube. It is the wing with the roll servo. And we did get it closed up. And I think we learned a couple lessons.
Yeah.
It is both, I don't know, it seems impossible, right? When you get the line of Clecos up top, and you start thinking, we're going to have to get a bucking bar behind each one of these holes and set a rivet. It seems very, very intimidating.
There were several times in there where we're like, there's just no way. No, yep. There's no way.
There was one point where we were researching what pull rivet we were going to put in place of some rivets. Granted, the plans say, use solid rivets everywhere. It doesn't even mention pull rivets. And to be honest, you go research what is the right pull rivet to substitute a 3-3.5 rivet. The answer is there is none that is structurally certified.
Oh.
Only 4s are structurally, like LP4s and the Cherry Max rivets are all size 4 for structural. There are rivets, and I'll put a title up with the right rivet that we would use if you had to. But the moral of the story is no pull rivets.
We didn't need them.
You don't need them. There are moments where we skipped sections or like, oh, we'll do pull rivets there later. And we always came back and we're able to cleanly get a rivet into the spot.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the riveting process and closing it up, let's talk about the steps that we have been doing, it seems like for the last year at this point, getting this wing ready. Of course, all the building steps that you have to do. So bless you. Skipping all the things that the plans say. You can read the plans. The steps that you have to build with, building the push tubes, building the bell cranks, and all those things. The things that are not in the van's plans, because this is where everyone kind of goes on their own path on what autopilot servo you put in, what magnetometer you put in, what wire harness do you need. Now, as you know, as you're representing Stein with their nice blue shirt, we went with Stein, and most of the wire harnesses that vans ship, Stein makes. And Stein has a philosophy where they have what they call their common wire harness that runs all through the fuselage. Some of it comes with the van's kits, and some of it you purchase from Stein if you go with their solution. You can easily build your own wire harness to tap into the stuff that comes with the van's kit. So we started with running the wire harness that came with the kit or came with Stein. To be honest, I don't remember.
I don't remember which was which, but there is some stuff in there that we
think the common wire harness came with the kit.
Yeah.
But then we had to add some customizations because we went with the Garmin pitot tube. So we had to run power and extra pneumatic tubing for the pitot static system and the angle of attack system. We covered that in our last video a little bit, and we will talk more about how we got the pitot tube onto the right wing when we close it up. It's not closed yet. It's on the other side over there. That's our project starting this weekend. But getting the wire harness in, making sure we had all the extra wires we wanted. We even put in, you see down over at that end is an open panel. That's where our outside air temperature probe goes, and our USB power that we're going to power a camera at the wingtip. So we ran those through, got all that set. We thought we were doing the right thing by getting the push tubes all assembled and in place before we closed it up because we have better access. And there's a half truth to that.
I mean, it's great. You do have better access, but when you need to stick your hand in a bucking bar through a tiny hole and you have to share it with a push tube, it doesn't work.
Yes. So what we're going to do in the other wing and what we learned is, yes, build the push tubes, get them in place, and get your bell cranks in their neutral position so that aileron push tube is properly sized before you close up, because it's a heck of a lot easier. But don't worry about final torquing your push tube, because you're going to take it out and then reinstall it after you close it up, which, by the way, that actually wasn't that hard.
It wasn't. I was expecting it to be worse.
Yep.
But
So we got all that set. Our last push tube that actually goes from the bell crank to the aileron, that hasn't been measured out because we haven't put the aileron on. So that's going to have to come off one more time to get neutral to where it needs to be. But now we know we can put our jig on the root bell crank, put that in neutral. We'll know that we're neutral here. So all we have to do is center the aileron. So we are pretty confident it's going to make our life easier that we did it that way. So
famous last words.
yeah, well, hey, this whole thing is learn one step at a time. So again, symbol it, measure it, get it neutral, take it out, and then once you're absolutely sure you got all the wires that you need, because you will lose a lot of access when you close it up, that's when it's time to start pounding rivets.
It felt good to get it all done.
Yes.
Finally.
And for some reason, the RV-14 plans don't cover how to match drill the J stiffener that goes along this row here. If you check the wiki, it sends you to the RV-10 plans on the steps to do. Honestly, it's match drilling 101. Just making sure you got the right amount of overlap in place. But yeah. We did that, got that set. Then you start pounding rivets. So our strategy was, and by the way, the last set of pull rivets that we thought we were going to do was because of the push tubes. Once we got the push tubes out,
then my hand could fit.
With the right amount of 4-letter words. There's a lot of 4-letter words and screaming to do. How many rivets do you think we had to drill out?
Oh, we probably drilled out
6 to 10?
10.
Yeah, it really wasn't that. In the grand scheme of things, 10 rivets to drill out is not that bad. And
I would say 6 were your fault, 4 were my fault.
Yeah, we're not placing blame here. It's Rivet's fault. Remember our golden retriever Rivet? We named him for a reason, so we can blame all the bad rivets on him. But yeah, so we drilled them out, and none of them really fought us too bad drilling. We got really good at drilling out. It's like when we messed one up, it was pretty easy to say, just continue. We'll come back and drill it out later. And my anxiety in drilling out a rivet is kind of at an all-time low.
Well, we've been doing this a while, honey.
Yeah, so if you're sitting there making decisions on, oh, I really don't want to drill out that rivet, and it's a skin rivet, like an easy access rivet, go practice drilling out rivets. There are some really hard to reach rivets that you really don't want to have to drill out. We've been there. Mm-hmm. We have one rivet on the J channel. I think it was right here. This one right here. I would love to drill it out and make it a little bit better, but it's honestly just fine. It's just a little bit more proud than the rest, but we know getting to it.
You can't get to it.
Will be very difficult. So we don't feel we have a high chance of setting a better rivet than that. And this one is perfectly fine. Evoke will fix it. Little piece of cover up there, paint, it'll be fine.
You'll never know it's there.
So we did take out a couple rivets. Then the final step was putting on the access panels, which you just have to kind of match drill and dimple those and put them in place. And we have a closed up wing. So strategy, let's see how much we remember of what we did. Kind of loosely cleco it on, mainly at the top. Follow the plans. The plans tell you to put cleco the top row. And then you start setting the top row and get the top row across. And that's when you can take the bottom skin and peel it back without causing a crease and reach up there and have pretty decent access.
I think we did the top row plus 3 or 4 down on each.
Yeah, it went 3 or 4 down on each. And then once we got the top all set, then we start riveting down. Now, the lesson that we learned really quickly is even though you're not tightly clecoing everything, you still want the skin to be flat to make a good seal. So if we're riveting in this area here, we would want to cleco several clecos down to hold the skin flat, so any lifting that we were doing wasn't creating a gap, so that we got a good flush seal.
We noticed we had a few rivets that got smashed in between the rib and the skin.
Yeah, they were no bueno rivets for sure. And so most of the early rivets that we drilled out were because of that. And once we, again, building 101, we know this, you know this, have the cleco in place, not too far down that you cause a crease by lifting it up to get your hand under, but close, far enough down that it's holding it flat so you get a nice flat rivet. So then you go all the way to one past where the J channel goes. Obviously, don't put a rivet in where the J channel goes because you won't have the J channel in there and all you're doing is putting in a rivet through a single layer of skin. That makes no sense. Luckily, we did not learn that lesson the hard way, but I'm sure someone might accidentally learn that lesson the hard way. So then once you have one rivet past where the J channel is, then it's time to slide the J channel in. You've already match drilled it. You already know where it goes. Not that hard to get in place. It
slid right in.
Yeah, a little finagling across a couple of the ribs, but once you get slid in, clecoed in, now it's just a long rivet train going that direction. Then once you're done, we started strategically, we left this row at the seam for last. I'm pretty sure the plans were kind of vague on that. But
I think it said that.
It does say it, but other places it alludes to, you know how Van's plans are. You can read them a couple different ways. So we did leave, after we got down one past the J channel, we did leave these till very last. And then we just kind of came up with our strategy of which one of these are the hardest to access. And we wanted to do those first. Because this row right here is actually one of the hardest because the flange goes this direction. If the flange just went this direction, Vans, why? I would love to know the engineering reason why this flange goes this way. Our life would have been so much easier if the flange went this way, because you just reach in this access panel.
I think it's the same for this one too.
Yeah, that one actually turned out not to be quite as bad because you just got to it through the end. It's just a long reach. But if this flange went this way, you just reach in here and buck and bar right up. It'd be easy. It's really hard to go past the flange and hold a buck and bar that close. So
especially if you're right-handed.
So you end up going through this access panel into here to get to that. So it's just a little bit more of a reach. It is doable. Those people who do this all by themselves.
I don't know how they do it.
I think it's doable, but then again, you and I are not we don't spend much time doing solo riveting. We're always building as a team, and our rhythm together is better. Like anytime I try to set a rivet by myself where I'm doing both, it's never as good as what we do together. And it's just because of what we're practiced at.
Yeah.
And you're really, really good at holding that buck and bar and doing that. She won't let me touch it unless it's absolute.
There were a couple times I wasn't long enough, and so he had to do it.
The real reach is some of the like the third row in where you have to reach from the lightning hole at the end and really get your arm all the way up to get in there. It does leave marks on your arm. You were bruised for
I was pretty bruised.
Fatigue is a thing. We use the tungsten buck and bar, which is great until you're holding it at a weird angle for a long time. Hand cramps happen, so we would do as much as we can and then take breaks.
I was just like, I'm not going to drop the bucky bar inside the wing.
I remember in the last video you said, this weekend we're just going to knock this out in one build session. I think it took us 4 build sessions.
Look, you're not supposed to talk about things Melissa says. Those are things that Melissa says.
It's published on the internet, so I think it's fair game. No, I love you, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
But we went at the pace that made sense, and it was very rewarding to see the sections get done, and it's extremely rewarding because it's been like a week or so since I've really looked at this wing, since we reconfigured the garage to put the other wing on the stand, facing the other direction so we can work on it. This is actually the back side of our shop. I guess that's the other thing, important lesson, is finding the right angle. First, we're wondering, having the wing laying flat on the table, would that be best? We discounted that pretty early. Then we're like, well, it's just...
And we had it on the...
Yeah, work on the cart on the ground. We tried that for a little bit, but the angles were like, being on the ground and reaching up, just...
Too old for that.
So then we had the epic throw Amelia... Bless you. Throw Amelia in the stroller over there. Give us 2 minutes of work time with our au pair helping us lift the wing up, lift the cart up, and then put the wing on this table that we're sitting on.
I knew the wing was just going to crash to the ground.
So then when it came time to rearrange again, we just contacted our CrossFit instructor friend and our other friend who's in his class. So any builder, you need to have at least 2 or 3 CrossFit friends because they're great for moving this stuff around when you need it.
It's just like, hey, bring your buddies, let's go.
Yep. And, we made 5 minutes worth of work of spinning this around and moving the other wing on. It was pretty easy. So we'll get it, and it's nice and secure on this table. It's not going to go anywhere. These are nice like 2x4, 2x6s that is holding all this together. So getting it at that angle really helped us. Sometimes you're on a step stool.
Yeah. I'd rather be on a step stool than on my knees.
Yep. I'm sure there's a joke there, but we'll let that one slide. Go ahead, cough up a lung. She thinks that by coughing right now that it'll be a perfect opportunity to edit that joke out. I doubt it'll happen. I'm way too lazy in my editing.
Okay.
So now it's just time to repeat. The only, so I guess, again, take the push tube out, leave the aileron or the roll servo for the autopilot in. That did not cause any problems. We did have to unplug the harness to get to 1 or 2 rivets, but with it unplugged but installed, we had plenty of access for everything that we needed. Landing lights, wires, all that was no problem. So we do have that extra access panel that we installed. It's probably the ugliest access panel on any Vans aircraft, but Evoque will fix it for us. But it is a...
Well, let's just say it's not our best work.
It's not our best work. I'm glad it's face down. So
I'm glad the pitot tube came out a little better.
Pitot tube came out much, much better. Every once in a while I keep thinking about drilling that out and redoing it, but it's just not worth it. It'll be fine. But that extra access panel, I think, was helpful for us. The other wing will not have that access panel there, so we'll see how that goes.
I don't recall going through it.
Yeah, there was a couple we did because it was there, but I think going through the side would have been just as fine.
Yeah.
So as you do this, you're going to be thinking impossible, 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 impossible. Wait, I'm done. Do you think that sums up how we were looking at it?
I was like, I think I can, I think I can, I can't, I can't, I think I can, I think I can, and we did it.
And then next rivet. That was kind of the thought process for
it's like, let's just get through this.
Some of them are easy. You like this row here, you just reach in, boom, 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 boom. It's done before you know it. It's those challenging ones you just, bite down and get as many as you can without a break. And before you know it, you're done.
Yeah, I felt like the more pain I was in, the faster we went.
Yep. So the next one should go quicker.
Yeah.
It does have the complication of the pitot tube. But I don't think that's going to slow. We've already put the doubler and the mountain bracket is already riveted in place. We are pretty sure we're going to install the pitot tube after the skin is closed because we feel the pitot tube is absolutely going to get in the way of us reaching some rivets.
Probably.
But we're going to try it out once before we take the clecos off to confirm that before we do. If you've already closed up your wing with a pitot tube, tell us what you did. From what I've seen with Andrew Kilroy and some of the other channels out there, most people just have no problem installing the pitot tube after it's closed. So that's what our plan A is right now. We'll get that one done. Then a few things like the landing light bracket we still need to install. Few minor things like that. We are not going to work on our wingtips now. So as soon as all that's done, wings go to storage unit, fuselage comes back here, which is our favorite part of the airplane. We love working on that fuselage. We missed that fuselage.
Yeah.
I went and visited our fuselage a couple days ago because I needed to take some pictures for our avionics. It was, I don't know, I think our fuselage is lonely.
Well, we're about to solve that.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun because we're really less than a month away from avionics being ready.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. I am flying up to Minnesota here in a week or so. Going to shoot a lot of content with Stein Air. We're going to get to see our panel, our avionics, see the process, see the final touches. They should be just at the end stages of putting our panel together. So we're going to be shooting content with our gear, with our panel. Meet the team at Stein, the hardworking people who do a lot of different parts of it. Nick is our designer, who is our main point of contact. Josh is our project manager. The other Nick is designing our wire harness. I need to look.
There's a lot of people on that team.
The guy who shot content for us of laser cutting our panel. I want to say Luke was his name. I hope I got that right. If not, I'm going to have to put a title down below to give him credit because he did an amazing job cutting our panel. It looks beautiful. And he shot some amazing content of the process. So we're going to include that on the future episode. So all the questions you have about Stein, my main question for them that I want to answer in the channel is, how plug and play is this? Hint, hint, it's not 100% plug and play like you think. And anybody who sells you a plug and play panel is lying, because there's a lot of thought that still has to go into where you mount things behind the panel. That is not, you want to be in control of that.
I mean,
So we've already learned a couple questions we wish we would have asked earlier, and we're going to talk about that.
yeah.
So stay tuned for our Stein extravaganza. We are still incredibly happy we went with Stein and are very thankful to be working with that team. So
More to come.
more to come there. So thank you for watching 14 Victor Echo.
See you next time.